Hey everyone, it's Ashley and I'm back with another card video. This time I'll be making a galaxy background card, and I am first going to be taking several colors of Tim Holtz Distress Oxide inks from Ranger, and I had cut out a A2 layer. It's a little smaller than I think like your traditional A2 layer panel, but I had a background die that had sort of like a zigzag border on it, and I cut that out with Nina 110 pound cardstock so that it could hold up to all my inking, and then I will splatter it with some water. I decided not to do a watercolor paper, but I just went with the thicker Nina. And the oxide ink colors I'm using are the bright blue is Peacock Feathers, the purple is Villainous Potion. I will be using a darker blue that is Chipped Sapphire, and then at the end I will cover all of this up with black soot, the black color. And I apologize, I don't know why, but on camera whenever I ink blend or color, it just does not show up how it is in real life and smooth. So I promise the blending is not as blotchy, but even if yours turns out like this, it's okay, because I do put over the black soot on top and it covers it up, and then we'll be splattering and embossing on top of it. So, and then stay tuned for the pictures at the end and you can see how seamless the actual blending is in the end. And again, you're just going to cover your whole card panel with the black soot, and you're going to question, why did you work so hard? But it just makes it a really cool effect with the black color, but then also the peaks of those brighter colors peeking through. So I'm just going to go ahead and go all the way around this panel, and I am putting this on thicker than I did the color because I will be spritzing water on it since they are water reactive inks. Okay, and I believe yes, I'm going to clean up because the oxide inks are very pigmented and wet, and I am just a messy crafter, so I know if I leave that there, I'm just going to have that black soot and all the other colors just everywhere. I do not want it to be. And here I'll be taking the water and I'm just going to spritz it on, and I will just let it soak in a little. Again, I am not drenching the paper since it's not watercolor cardstock, so I'm just gonna set that aside, clean my surface, and then I wanted a grass hill on the card, so I will be taking this one. This time it's 80 pound cardstock since I won't be splattering water on it, but I'll be using two more Distress Oxide ink colors. The bright one is the Twisted Citron, and the darker one is Mowed Lawn. And I will just be quickly laying down this color. And then I will go back in. I want to make sure that I've done enough to cut out my Lawn Fawn grass border die. So off camera, I have ran that through my die cut machine. And again, cleaning up so that green does not transfer, although I probably could have left it there because I could have went in and actually did the other green, but right now I am finding that background die that I use to cut the panel. It does have a stitching around the border. I know it's hard to see from here, but I wanted the grass to have that same stitched line all the way around it, just so it would fit seamlessly on the panel. So I am going to run that through, and then I will go back over it with the Mowed Lawn. And this is just to add a little bit of dimension to it. And I did want to splatter a little on this grass hill panel, So I just put a little bit of it on a clear block, the darkest green, and using a water pen, I'm just flicking off little pieces or little flicks, I'm sorry, of that paint or ink. Goodness. And cleaning off that block, I will clean up my mess again, and I will set that piece aside to dry. The water is still not completely dry, but it is dry enough to where I can add in my white paint that I want to splatter on to look like stars or galaxies. So I just put a very little amount. You do not need a lot of this Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed proof white. It was a little thicker than I wanted. It wouldn't splatter onto my panel, so I did mix a little bit of that water, and I am just lightly tapping my water pen just to give it it is very faint, and you'll again see close-ups of it at the end. And I'm just going to set that aside to dry. If you do splatter any of that P.H. Martin's bleed proof white ink, you will want to clean that up as soon as you can, because once it dries, it is permanent. And I seem to splatter all over. It will be on the light, it will be on my glasses, it will be on just every surface if I don't clean it up. Okay, now I'm going to do some coloring while those panels dry, and I mainly used all of Lawn Fawn products for this. Actually, I think I did use, besides that background die cut, but the first stamp set I've used is the Superstar stamp set by Lawn Fawn, and I used the mouse image from that, and what else is from that? The telescope is from that, the speech bubble is from that stamp set, and then I will be embossing several stars and constellations later on, so you'll see that, and those come from this stamp set as well. And then the planets and the rocket and some of the the words, excuse me, I use are from Out of This World by Lawn Fawn, and I'll be using their coordinating dies to cut them out as well. So for the mouse, I just chose 3 colors of brown and an R20 for the nose and the ears. And for the first planet, I am just doing shades of orange. So I'm going to have the darker color be at the bottom. And I'll be taking a lighter orange and flicking that into the top. And then I thought this just looked a little too so similar in color, because I will make the green ring be a brighter green. So I do go back in with darker orange to do dots, just to add some dimension to the planet. And I did slow the coloring down just a little. I mean, I did increase it. Obviously, I do not color this fast in real life. I wish I did. But if you want to skip this coloring and just see the rest of the card, feel free to do that. I do just go over all the pieces with Copic coloring and a very quick shadowing and layering if I do use more than a few Copics on each one. For the moon, I did just use some of the C's, and I stuck with C2 for the main moon image, and then a C4 for the darker spots in the moon. For the telescope, I am using C6, C4, and C2, and I'm just going to blend those in from darkest to lightest. And my lightest color will be a C4, or a C2, excuse me. And then I will be moving on to the different images. The only thing is there is not a die cut for this flame, the fire flame for the rocket. So I do have to fussy cut that out. It's not very big and it's really easy to do, but I just want to go ahead and cut that out when I die cut the rest of them so that I can attach it to the back of the rocket. And the rocket, I am going to color some more masculine colors. This card is for my son for his birthday, and he wanted a galaxy space birthday. And the speech bubble I will be stamping in later, but I just did a BG10 around the speech bubble. I know you can't really see it from here. And then V15 and V12 for the purple stripes. And then I do go in with a yellow on that planet. And I will be doing Y06 on that one. And that one I do not shade, I just color it just the one shade. And then back to BG13. This planet and the Earth will go inside of the card. I always like to do something in the inside of the card as well and stamp my sentiment or put a piece of cardstock in it just so the whole card feels complete and decorated. And then YG07 is the bright green I'm using just to go around certain pieces on the planets and the rocket. And then to finish off the rocket, I'll just be adding orange. Oh, I think I do go back in with purple for that very small circle in the inside of the rocket. And I use a V12. And then for the planet Earth, the blue did come out a little brighter than I wanted, but it's in the inside of the card. And he's a teenager, so I think it's gonna be okay. So I used BG07 and I just went in with the green for the land pieces. Okay, now through the magic of the camera and editing, I have die cut all those out, and I have kind of arranged how I think I want the planets and all of them to be on. And my panel, I went and I fixed dinner, so this has been, you know, a few hours and stuff like that. So everything is dry. I did put on the grass panel, I just adhered that, and now I'm taking the Tailored Expressions embossing anti-static powder, and just in case, I am coating the entire background in her anti-static powder. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not glue that down yet. And I am using the Lawn Fawn Glow in the Dark embossing powder. This is why I thought I'd already glued it on, because I kind of needed to lay it on there to make sure my embossing wasn't going to be hidden from the grass panel. And using Versamark, I am just stamping the star constellation and then a trio of stars from that Superstar Lawn Fawn stamp set, the one with the mouse and the telescope. And I am just randomly stamping where in my head I didn't think there were planets or I knew I could arrange them. And you do want to make sure that your Versamark pad is juicy and wet enough, because I think mine is getting a little dry, and when I go to sprinkle the glow in the dark embossing powder, it did not stick as well. So you really need to have the recipient charge the card to see it glow in the dark beforehand. So just make sure you write that or stamp that in the card. I know there's some interactive stamps that they sell or other companies do that say like I glow in the dark. So I will make sure I write that in the card so that does not go unnoticed. And I'm just checking to make sure that it's all covered. This is where I noticed some of it wasn't sticking. Or I could have done this in the MISTI, so I could have stamped the stamps a second time or even a third time in the same spot. But because I used the clear block, I didn't think I could line it up just perfect. So I went with just a one stamp and then I made sure to coat it a couple times. Okay, I am warming up my embossing gun, and you just want to melt it just to where it gets a little glossy look to it or a glazed look. Again, it's going to be hard to see this on the camera. But it does almost dull the stars. But looking at the card here at my house right now, like it's been a few days since I'm doing this voiceover for making it, and I can see the stars on there. So even if they don't get that it glows in the dark, I can still see it on the panel for a fun effect. Okay, and you want to make sure you don't touch it and just let it cool down. So I will be gluing on this grass panel, and I am just using my art glitter glue. And I'm putting that down. And I am so excited I was able to record a video. When I went to go make this card, I was sitting down and I was thinking, wait, I should probably record this. So I went to my YouTube channel and I was like, oh my goodness, it's been 2 months since I last uploaded a video for you guys. So I am sorry, summer got away from me. I work with a school district here, and we just had our summer break. My son was out of school, and my husband has had to go into the office more and more than he has in the past few years, so he's just not as home as much. So when he is home and my son's home, we just try to spend, you know, the days together going swimming and just doing fun activities. We ended up going to Myrtle Beach. We had never been to Myrtle Beach in South Carolina area, and that was a fun trip. So we were able to sneak in a beach trip in the last few weeks of summer, and we've just started back to school, so I'm just getting into the hang of things and the swing of things, and my son is as well. So hopefully I'll start to have more time to make cards. I just had not been in my craft room, I guess, for a few weeks, it seems like. Okay, I am stamping on a blue cardstock that I just cut out with a banner die. It says, "Have a stellar birthday," and those words are from the Superstar stamp set. And I thought it was fun just to color in the word stellar. It is more, well, it's an open word, and so there's room to color. So I just took a color of every, like a blue and a purple and an orange, a green, two shades of blue, and a yellow and a red, just all the colors that were on the card somewhere, just to put it on there to make it stand out. And the yellow does not really show up on the blue cardstock. It actually looks like a lighter green, but again, he will not. He'll just be excited that it's his birthday and he has a card and a present to open. So I am just finishing coloring the banner piece, and I will be pop dotting these up. Now I love the, let me get the brand, the 3L pop dots. Love them, from Scrapbook Adhesives. And when I went to use them, I noticed that I must have bought a different pack than I typically do. I bought my regular ones, but then I have a pack that it says thin 3D foam squares. So they are not as thick as the typical scrapbook adhesive foam squares. And I kind of like them. It's nice to have both styles. So especially if you have to mail your cards and you just want a little bit of dimension, but you still want it to be able to fit in a normal envelope, regular postage. Here are the pop dots, and you can see how they're not as thick. So, and this one also came with the bigger squares and the smaller squares in the same pack. So I'm pretty excited about this mistake because, well, now I'm gonna have to have both apparently. So I just put this on. It does have a little bit of dimension. And I just put that towards the bottom of the grass hill. And I am also using foam tape on the back to pop dot all of this on the panel. I figured I should probably start doing this since I want to start attaching all the planets. I absolutely love these foam strips. These are from Tailored Expressions, and they come in a huge roll, and they're all already cut to this size. So they work wonderful for paneling, your card fronts, and if you just leave the backer on, you can actually cut them, and that way I can fill in those missing pieces at the top and on the right hand side without getting your scissors all gunky. Okay, and it looks like it is thundering here, so I apologize if you hear that in the background. It seems to rain every day now here, which has not been the best. We did get like an above ground pool. We've used it for, you know, a month and a half with summer and stuff, but this has really put a damper on our weekend plans when it rains every weekend, it seems. And I'm just going to peel this off, and then I made a card base just using the 110-pound white Nina Solar White cardstock. And I'm just going to place that on top of it as even as I can. And then I will start to decorate the front. So I know the mouse and the telescope will be on the hill. And I'm just using that same liquid art glitter glue. I love this stuff. And if you buy the bottle, and then they sell bigger refill bottles, so it's a much better deal if you just refill your own bottles. Okay, and I'm just adding his little telescope. And then this is where I did fussy cut out that little flame, and I am just gluing it behind the rocket ship. And the rocket, I decided to use those same thin foam adhesive squares. So I'm sorry I'm off camera. That is what I'm putting on the back of it, just so that it has a little bit of dimension again on the card. And this card was so much fun to make. It was a lot of fun making the galaxy background, and I loved the way it turned out. When you look at it one way, you see the purple, but then when you look at it the other way, you see that blue. And it's just a very cool technique, using those bright colors and then covering it with the black soot, and then adding your water. And then what I think makes a big difference is flicking on that white paint. And I love the P.H. Martin's, the bleed proof white. It stays as white as it is in the jar. Okay, so I am just putting the rest of the planets just around. I am really paying attention to where I stamped those stars and that constellation that glows in the dark. I'm trying not to cover them up so that he'll be able to hold it under the light and see it shine. And on the little speech bubble, I did stamp the mini wow that comes with the stamp set, but then I hand wrote 15. And I am just going to put on one of those thin adhesive dots and pop dot that as well. So that is the front of the card. And like I said earlier, I love decorating the inside too, even if it's just a very quick panel inside. So I did take that same blue cardstock that matched the front banner on the front, and I stamped using some sentiments from the Out of This World Lawn Fawn stamp set, and it says, hope your birthday is out of this world. So I just cut that blue panel to 4 by 5 1/4. And sorry, it's hard to line it up when I have the camera right there. I can't get my head right over on top of it. And then I had cut those 2 extra planets out, and I am just going to put those on each side of the sentiment. So just to dress the card up a little. Okay, and then I'm just going to add a few little details. I will be adding Stardust Stickles, and it is just a clear glitter glue. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I did end up writing 15 on the rocket, just to put his age in there. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in for you just so you can see, and then there'll be a close-up at the end of the video of the card. I know sometimes it's hard to see on camera the details. So I do end up using that Stickles on the ring of the one planet. I put it on the spots on the moon. And I am running low. I'm having to really squeeze this bottle. And then I put it on the purple stripes on the planet over on the right. And I just sort of squeeze at the end where that darker purple is and drag it to the lighter edge. So see how I'm just sort of dragging it along and swirling it. And then I decided to go back and add a white gel pen for highlights. I am terrible at remembering that. I probably should have done that first, to be honest, before I have to go around the wet stickles. I just really like the way a white gel pen adds to the images. So I add them onto the orange planet, the mouse, the telescope, a few spots on the rocket, and I do end up doing them on the 2 planets inside of the card too. And then the gel pen that I use is by Jelly Roll, and I bought a, it comes with a 3-pack and it has 3 different sizes. This is the 10, which just means it's a thicker white, it just comes out thicker, and you just need to let it dry because you can smear it if you were to accidentally put your hand on it or something on top of it. So just let it dry. And that's when I decide just to do them on the 2 in the inside. And then I wanted to add some glossy accents to the card. So I squeezed that onto that little circle that says the 15 on the rocket, the front of the rocket, and the orange strip, I put it on the mouse's ear, and then I thought it was going to be a fun idea to actually outline the letters and go over it, and now that it has dried, it turned out really cool. So this is why I love this little fine tip applicator I put on this mini glossy accents, because it made going over the smaller letters a piece of cake. Okay, that is my card. So I will make sure to let him know to hold it, a flashlight on it, or hold it above a light just for a little bit so that all those stars glow with the embossing powder. I just want to thank you so much for watching. Be sure to comment so I know that you watched it. Tell me if you've used glow in the dark embossing powder. Thank you so much, and I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Bye.